The wind was cold that afternoon, the kind that bites through thin sweaters and reminds you that autumn isn't always kind. In the middle of the park, a little girl sat on a wooden bench beside her mother, clutching a threadbare blanket around her shoulders. Her cheeks were pink from the chill, and her small voice trembled as she whispered a question that pierced the quiet air like a broken note. "Are we bad people, Mama?" The woman beside her looked down, eyes full of tears she tried to hide. If you believe kindness still has the power to change lives, to heal broken hearts, and to rewrite the stories of people who've been forgotten, then please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Pure Kindness, because today's story will remind you that goodness still lives among us. The observer, Ethan Cole, had come to the park simply to eat his lunch in peace. A single father, he'd been juggling 2 jobs since his wife Claire passed away 2 years ago. His life revolved around his 7-year-old son Noah and the little moments they managed to share between school, work, and exhaustion. But as he watched the mother and daughter, he felt something stir deep inside him, something that reminded him of his own struggles. Those nights when Noah had asked if everything would be okay and Ethan hadn't known what to say. The woman, Grace, looked tired. Her face carried the quiet pain of someone trying to stay strong for far too long. When the little girl asked again, louder this time, "Are we bad people, Mama? Because nobody wants us anywhere," Ethan's chest tightened. He stood up and slowly walked toward them, his heart weeping for the small, trembling voice. Ethan approached gently, careful not to let his eyes carry anything but concern. Grace looked startled, bracing for judgment. "I'm Ethan," he said quietly, sitting at the edge of the bench. He learned that Grace had lost her job months ago when her diner shut down, and after being evicted, she had been living in her car. But last night, the car had broken down completely. They had nowhere left to go. Ethan felt his throat tighten, thinking of Noah and how easily life could have twisted another way for them. Without a word, he offered them his sandwich. Lily's eyes lit up as she took a bite. It was as if she'd been given the world. Ethan didn't just see a homeless woman. He saw the same resilience that had kept him alive after losing his wife. Ethan couldn't let them slip through the cracks. He called a friend who managed a cafe and secured Grace a second chance, a job as a waitress. Slowly, an unspoken connection formed between 2 broken souls trying to heal. But then, the shocking truth emerged. One afternoon, while Ethan's son Noah was waiting at the cafe for Grace to finish her shift, Lily pointed at Ethan and gasped, "Daddy, look, it's her!" Ethan was confused until Noah explained. Months ago, when Noah was in the hospital ward feeling weak and alone, a little girl had insisted on giving him her only sandwich because he needed it more. Ethan looked at Grace, stunned. Even when she had been at her absolute lowest, with no home and barely any food, she had taught her daughter that dignity is found in giving. Grace hadn't been a bad person, unlucky in life. She was a woman of immense strength who had been a silent angel for Ethan's son long before Ethan ever stepped toward that park bench. Ethan realized that by helping Grace, he wasn't just performing an act of charity, he was returning a debt of humanity he didn't even know he owed. He told her, "You gave my son kindness when he needed it most. Now let me return that kindness to you." Sometimes the quietest people carry the loudest stories. Grace didn't beg and she didn't explain, yet her silent kindness changed a man's heart and saved a family. What began as a simple question on a park bench turned into a second chance at life. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Pure Kindness. We want to keep kindness alive, one story at a time. Tell us in the comments, have you ever helped a stranger only to realize they had touched your life before? Remember, sometimes the smallest act of compassion doesn't just feed the hungry, it saves a soul that had forgotten how to live.